All right, so let me show you how to actually, start actually, uh, properly like adding our changes, like properly using the staging area, how it was meant to be used. So first of all, we're going to use a plugin that would actually understand Scala a little bit better. So I'm going to install it real quick, and I'm going to import the build. We might need a reload actually. No, we don't need a reload. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to import the changes. Now we can actually close this one. I actually kind of want to open the some file because we're gonna end up making a couple of changes. Okay, so let's see. It's probably almost finished. We should have like run buttons appearing over here once it finishes compiling. This should appear in just a couple of seconds. Now maybe in the meantime we can actually go over here, start the terminal. There we go. So maybe we can go over here, start a terminal, and this alias that I just added, this one GRHOM. This is the one that you would usually want once you're like ready to, to create a PR and stuff. Once you're ready to tell the story, right? Because then you can just say GRHOM, and I should probably source bash aliases. I'm tired of restarting the terminal. Okay, so alias GRHOM. Right, so it's gonna do a reset to origin main, right? So basically, it's gonna throw out everything you did, but not the actual changes, right? So GRHOM. You could also add the fetch, but in this particular case, I don't recommend you adding the fetch because the reset is already a relatively dangerous command. So you want to have a bit more control over it. All right, so what does this mean? It means that first of all, we have a backup plan, right? So even if you totally forget how to use Git, you can like completely throw out this directory and just clone your repository again because your branch is already there. The origin topic, it's already there. Okay, so now we have all of the changes and we can choose how we want to tell the story. So if you go over here into this version control view, you're going to see that these are all the changes. Okay, and you could, for example, add like only some of them. For example, like this one, you can click on plus over here. You can say stage changes, and you can also remove them, right? So this is like what I'm doing over here is git add and then this file, and then on stage is also like git rm this file. Now what you could also do is you could actually add some patches, right? So remember, like the individual change is the patch. So for example, you could go over here, and the way it works in VS Code, let's actually go to something bigger. The way it works in VS Code is actually a bit a bit cumbersome, right? So essentially you would like mark some area like this, right? And then you could right click, and there's a stage selected ranges, right? So you can also do Control K, Control KLS, ALS, okay? So as soon as I click this, it's essentially going to split this file into two. And like part of the file is going to be staged, another part is not going to be staged, okay? So I'm going to say stage selected ranges like this, right? So as you can see, this file is here and here. And so if you click over here, you're going to see that we staged only this one range. As you can see over here, it looks like this was the only change in the entire file. Okay, let me actually unstage this as well. Okay, now there is a much better way to do this called GAPA. So alias GAPA, which is git add patch, right? And it will allow you to interactively go through all of these changes. Okay, and this is much faster, and it has the same problem. GAPA is not going to see the new files. Now, every time you run GAPA, you actually need to give it something, right? So you would say GAPA dot, right? So you want to go through all of these, go through every patch and decide whether you want to add it or not. But we're going to forget this new file. And so there's a tiny hack in Git. There's a tiny flag called hyphen N, capital N, which will mark the file, this one, which is currently untracked. It will mark it as intent to add, right? And so essentially, if we do GD right now, GST right now, we're going to see that everything is red, but there's also this new file. So if we do like GAA, right, it's going to add everything, but it's not going to add this file. And also GAA will ruin our intent to do GAPA, right? Because we don't want to add everything. We want to add like bits by, piece by piece. And so instead, we're going to do a GAA and we're going to do N. Okay, just as a reminder, GAA, it adds everything, right? So we're going to do GAA N, okay? And so now all of them are green, right? So if we do GST, I was hoping actually that all of them would be green. Oh yeah, I forgot to actually say what we want to add. We need to do the dot, okay? So now if we do GST, come on, what's wrong? Oh yeah, no, this is actually correct. But notice that this file, this new file, now it is marked as intent to add, which is why it's not like separate over here. It's like part of all of them, right? So new file is over there. If you run GAPA right now with a dot, it will actually include this and flag. I'm sorry, it will include this new file. Now, usually you would go and you would like I would override like these aliases. In this particular case, I can't override. I mean, I could, but because it always needs a target, it wouldn't really make sense, right? And so instead, we're going to create a new alias. We're going to call it GAPAA, right? And we're going to do GAA and GAPA dot. I'm not going to run it now because we already did it manually. So I'm just going to do GAPA dot. Now, before I do this, I'm actually going to do that. Okay, so where we're looking at the source control, and you can also switch to the tree view over here. I'm going to go and I'm going to close this one for now, like this. Okay, yeah, whatever, you died. So I'm going to do this. Okay. So again, we have like all of these changes laying around, and now we're going to do GAPA dot, okay? And now we're going to be presented with this thing. So it goes through all of the patches interactively and presents us with this choice, okay? The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do the question mark and then press enter. And then it's going to explain what all of these letters mean. So you basically have yes and no for stage this particular hunk, or no, skip it, right? Then you can quit. Right, you can which is stage this hunk and all later hunks in the file. And then you can say, don't stage this hunk or any of the later hunks in the file, right? So basically you added a couple and then you say, okay, the others don't add them. It's sort of like quit, but quit will actually completely, terminate the whole thing, but this one will actually go to the next file. S is a very important one. It will actually allow you to split it. Now, this is a very important thing. Like all of these rebasing stuff and all of these like splitting things, they're not perfect. Like Git is not always capable of splitting this thing into like like as granular as you might sometimes like. And you also have E, which is to manually add it. It's a similar thing to like during a rebase to add it. Basically, you will actually go and do the changes again. I rarely use these ones. Like usually I use yes and no, and sometimes you would also like go to a previous hunk and it will actually appear in some point, like because right now we don't have a previous hunk, but I believe there will be another way to go to like a previous hunk. So for example, let's say that we wanted to split this one, and as you can see, it says, okay, now it split this one into 3 hunks, right? So it took this thing, it split it into 3 hunks. This is the first one, right? So we added this. Okay, in this particular case, I'm going to add all of them, so I'm going to say yes. Okay, now this one, right, I'm going to say yes, and now the other one, and I'm also going to say yes. Okay, maybe if I actually, okay, it refreshes automatically. So as you can see, stage changes are now the entire gitignore file. So what I'm doing now is basically I'm splitting my changes into 2 commits. The first one is going to be this one that I'm preparing now, and this is the one where I updated the versions and I've updated the gitignore. These are not like the essential ones, okay? So it's very, very fast. You just put your fingers on yes and no, and because it's your changes, it's going to be very, very fast for you to recognize. Like, see how fast I'm going to do it, right? So if I recognize that this is a change of the build files, I'm going to say yes. Otherwise, I'm going to say no. Okay? I'm going to do yes, yes. This is the new file that I added just for demonstration purposes. So I don't know what to do with it. Well, let's say yes. Doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to add it there, or maybe no. Let's say no. Okay. Yes, 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 no, no, no. That's it. Done. So you can go like this through like 200 files. If it's your changes, you're going to be able to very, very quickly recognize them. Over here, it's my changes, so you didn't really, it was probably too fast for you. But for me, it was very, very straightforward. It's like yes, no, 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 yes, yes. Sometimes you make an error, and then you can go to the previous hunk. I don't remember the letter. It should have been somewhere there. In any case, as you can see, like half of them are now staged, and another half is not staged. And as you can see, like the changes to the build files they're all staged. Okay, so now you can actually go and commit them. You can commit over here, or you can just do a gcam, and we're gonna say whatever. We're gonna say topic, and we're gonna say updates versions or something like this, bumps up versions or whatever. Okay, so now. Oh, I made the typical mistake. This is a typical mistake. The A includes at all, right? So now I ruined all of my changes, right? So all of the work that I just did is ruined. So we need to start from scratch. So I need to do graw. In fact, I actually need to go in further. I need to do this, right? And now I need to go and do the same thing again, right? But now I can at least use my new alias if I source it. Source bash aliases. So now I can do GAPAA, right? And just going to do this whole thing for me. And I'm going to say yes, 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 no, yes, 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 no, 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 done. As you can see, it was very fast. So now I'm going to do GCM instead of GCAM. Okay, this stuff actually happens to me all the time. Okay, no, GCMSG, and I'm going to say that this is, topic and I don't know, bumps versions or something like this. Okay, like this. Okay, so now they're gone. Now only these ones are left. In fact, I'm actually going to remove the new file. I actually don't really need it. Okay, I'm actually going to remove it, and now I'm going to do the same thing again, right? So I'm going to go through all of my changes. And by the way, if the change is displayed like this, so that you like, because usually like at the top of your hunk, it's going to say, hey, look, this is the hunk, right? So if I go up, it's going to say, um, it's gonna have like this thing. Okay, so when you're like going through this thing slowly and you don't see the top, then you know, okay, you're at the end of the file, or at the end of the hunks in the file, if you already see this. Okay, so yeah, I want to actually add this, and I want to add this, and I want to add that. Okay, so now let's do GD. Nothing changed. GDS. Okay, so it's all good. Okay, so GCMSG. Okay, so now I'm going to say topic, and I'm going to say improves, whatever, improves rendering, like this. Okay, so git log A. So now we have our two beautiful commits. Okay, and so now we could force push it, for example. Okay, like this. It's being force pushed right now. Let me click over here. Let's go over here, go over there. Maybe it's actually time to open a PR. Yeah, compare pull request. Okay, blah blah blah. Okay, so this is now our PR with these two beautiful ones, and you can actually click on commits, and you can say, okay, this is the first one. Oh, look, the first one is bumps version. This is probably not the important part of this change set, right? So probably my goal was to actually work on the features. So let's actually go over here and let's do this GRBI origin master. Right, so it does like the whole interactive thing again, and we're just going to do DDP to switch them, exit the file, push again, done. They're reordered. It took like literally just a couple of seconds, pushed, and now we're going to refresh. There we go. They change. In fact, in the conversation, GitHub might actually figure out that that we force push stuff, and that some stuff changed. Okay, but it doesn't really matter. It's just like additional information over here. Okay, so now if we go to commits, you can see, okay, improves rendering, and now you can see, okay, this is what he actually did, and then you can see, okay, there is a further commit, so you can click next, and then you can see, oh, it's bumps versions. I don't really care, but in any case, it looks very, very clean, very, very tiny. Now, a very, very interesting thing that is happening over here right now, and notice that, by the way, like most of the things that I showed you so far, they actually did not need interactive rebases, right? So we kind of got along with amending and resetting, sometimes resetting hard, sometimes resetting soft, but the actual time when we needed an interactive rebase was just now, where we changed the order. Okay, and so and if we did it like correctly, like the first time we did the GAPA thing, we wouldn't even need that. But now comes the actual real case where you actually need it. Okay, and this is the case where you already opened the PR and your colleagues reviewed it and they gave you some feedback. Okay, and now if you look into our commits, okay, over here, we're going to see that improves rendering happened first, right? And bumps versions happened later. Now, your colleagues are probably not going to give us you feedback to this one. They probably don't really care. They're probably not even going to look there. They're going to look over here, all right? So this is going to be the first time where you're going to make some changes. You're going to GWIP, right? Then it's going to add like the third one over here. And then it's going to be the first time when you're going to need a GRBIOM, git rebase interactive to the origin main, so that it would run through the whole rebase again, maybe with the changes from main, and then you would meld this one, the last one, into this one, into the improves rendering. Let's actually demonstrate this. Let's say that your colleagues went to main over here, and they said, hey, there's this cool thing in Scala where you can just say extends app. Okay, and then you don't need to have this main. You can just remove this, okay, like that. And you can do the same thing over here, extends app, do this over here, do this over here. Let's actually run it real quick. We didn't run it for a very long time. Let's just stick for a few seconds. And there we go. It still works. Okay, so let's say that you do this now. Okay, let's actually go and have this guy over here again, glog AW. Let's create a bit more space like this and like that over here. Okay, so essentially you have these changes now, and you need to add them, create a commit, give it a name, blah blah blah. But all you want is you want to shove them in there, right? Improves rendering. So all you do is you grep, you do grbiom, right? It opens the editor over here. You just move it up like this. You just delete it, move it up over here, change it to fix up, and that's it. Done. It's just shoved in there, and you do a force push. Okay, I'm not going to do a force push over here because I want to show you another really cool thing. I actually kind of want to throw out this change. And by the way, it's a nice trick because if we do this and then press Control Z, and it's going to add this change again, because this is what I want to do. I want to add this change again. I want to show you a really nice trick in Git. Now, if you're like me, most of the times you're gonna like in your pull request, you're going to have like only 2 commits. You're going to have like the real change and then some other refactorings. But if you're not somebody like me and you want to tell a more granular story, then you might end up with like, I don't know, maybe 10 commits in there. Okay. And so when your colleagues give you feedback, you're going to know exactly, okay, I want to merge, I want to put this, I want to fuse this thing with the 4th one. And you don't want to wait until you go into an interactive rebase. And so what you can do instead is you can use a really cool flag for the commit command. You can say, I'm going to add everything, right? And I'm going to create a commit, and I'm going to mark it as either squash or a fix-up. Okay, and you can have like tab over here, fix-up. Okay, and you can do the equal sign or a space. Okay, and now you can say that when you're going to run an interactive rebase, when it presents you this sequence of commits, all of them are by default marked as to be picked. But you can say that please mark this one, the one that you're going to target, which in our case is going to be this one, improves rendering. Please mark this one as, I'm sorry, please mark this commit that I'm creating as a fix-up to the improve. It's actually much harder to explain than actually it's much easier to show you. Okay, so first of all, you can do tab over here and it will show you the commits available. So if you do tab, it's going to show you these ones, right? So maybe a bit more space like this. Okay, let me press tab again. Okay, so it shows you these commits, right? Basically goes down like this. Okay, so you're going to say, I actually want to fix it up into this one. Okay, and you just press enter again, and so it created this commit, right? It is a 3rd commit, right? It actually used the same message. The message doesn't really matter. You can actually specify the message. I'm going to show it to you in a second. And it put in this fix up flag. Now later, when you actually do grbiom, okay, the same as we did before, you can actually pass it a flag, or you can configure it globally, as we will do in just a second. You can pass in autosquash like this. I'm actually not going to do this because I'm actually going to configure it globally. So I'm going to do gconfig global. I'm going to say rebase auto squash. I'm going to set it to true. Okay, so this way I can just do grbiom the same way as we did before. And now notice that the second one is going to be already marked as fix-up, as you can see over here, right? And so I don't need to do anything. I can just close the file and it's going to do exactly the same thing as we did before. I'm actually going to introduce a couple of more aliases so that you can go and use them, right? So, whoops. So I'm going to have an alias git commit all fix up, right? So it's going to be GAA and gcommit fix up. And by the way, with this alias, you can still press tab and you're going to get completion. And let's do another one for squash. Okay, so there are 2 flags, right? So either fix up or squash, but this auto squash thing, there's only one, right? So you just enable it and it's going to work for both of them. I'm not going to show you these aliases, but yeah, there you go. Okay, so we added this change. Let's actually go and finally force it to, force the push. And there we go. So this thing now changed now. So now we can actually go to GitHub and go back to the conversation. Okay, over here, notice that it actually shows us that we force pushed a couple of times. Okay, so now we can finally merge it, confirm merge. All right, there we go, delete the branch. Okay, I need to go fast over here because like my synchronization thing, like I believe like if I press over here, it is actually going to fetch stuff. So it's going to remove, let's see what it's going to do. Like this. Oh, couldn't find remote thread. Okay, it died. Okay, whatever, doesn't really matter. In any case, let's switch to main. Let's do, no, nothing. Don't worry about it. So let's do GL. Oh, come on, why are we there? Let's do, come on, let's do GL. As a reminder, GL is git pull. So we're gonna do GL, then we're gonna do GFA, and then we're gonna do, come on, fetching origin, removing, GBDA. There we go. Okay, so this is like the typical thing. Our rebase, look how clean our feature looks like, right? So we did this and we did that, and then it was merged into main. Everything is very, very clean and very, very awesome. All right, so we're pretty much done with this video. I just want to show you two really, really tiny things. One is that every time you rebase, whether it's interactive or not, you need to somehow go, you need to have the ability to grab the parent commit somehow, right? So we always did, like for example, when we were here, we did a rebase to this guy, and then we could manipulate these two. Okay, there's a tiny caveat. What if you want to rebase the whole thing, like even this one? You can't grab the parent, and Git has a built-in thing called root, right? And so now it will actually go and it will grab this one, right? So see, you're seeing the initial commit. Okay. I'm actually gonna remove these lines because I actually don't want to rebase anything. All right, I know that this video is getting too long, but I need to bring up stashes, and usually stashes are a separate topic, but they're always brought up together with rebases because you can configure rebases to always auto stash stuff. Now, stash is a very simple concept. It's designed for those rare situations where something really comes up and you really need to switch topics to something else. Okay, so you might have some uncommitted changes laying around, and stash allows you to just shove them somewhere, right? It's basically a special place with commits. It's essentially a stack where you can push your new stashes on, and then you can pop them off. Contrary to a regular stack, you can actually access things by index, so you can drop like something from the middle, or you can restore something from the middle. One thing that you need to know about stashes is that they're always local, so if somebody steals your laptop or your hard drive goes bye-bye, then your stashes also go bye-bye. And so stashes are naturally very related to rebases because for a rebase you would need a clean directory, and you can configure your rebases to automatically stash stuff. It's just not recommended to do this, and I never actually did it myself because after this, when you're going to bring your stash back, it might not merge in cleanly, and then you're going to run into issues. Okay, so I'm not going to recommend you to do this. So let me show you a couple of aliases. So if we just do alias and we're going to grab git and then we're going to grab stash, I'm going to see a couple of commands that you can do with stashes. Okay, so we're going to go through all of them. So the first one is, the simple one where you just add something to the stash. You basically say, you push it to a stack of stashes. We're not going to go through them in order because there are also a couple of other ones that stash stuff. For example, this one, all, I never recommend you to use it because it will stash everything, even like the stuff that is get ignored, and you never want that. I don't even know why this one exists. Okay, the one that you do want most of the times, like as already mentioned, is the one that I prefer, is the one that would treat the untracked files as the files that I care about, and so it will be this one, include untracked, right? So this is gstu git stash untracked. Okay, apply is the one where you take stuff back out of the stash. Clear is remove all of them. Drop is just drop like only one. Stash list is to list the stashes. Pop is to take to apply the first one, the one is this that is at the top. Show would just show you the diff, and this is how you do rebase and auto stash stuff. So I don't recommend you to configure it globally, but but you can do this sometimes. Okay, so I actually have another thingy that does git stash w. AW? I don't remember how I called it. LL user local bin. GSTLW. Okay, GSTLW. Okay, so it basically shows the stash, right? So it does like GSTL. So let's play with it real quick. So let's go over here and let's go back to how it was this def main thing. Okay, like this. Okay, so now we have like these changes laying around, and then something else comes up, and so we're going to use let's also do a new file. Very important, new content. we're gonna put it into a new file. Let's press enter. There we go, our new file over there. So we need to do alias gstu, which is git stash include untracked. So we're just going to do gstu. Okay, there we go. It's right there. This lists our stashes. You can access them like this or just by index. You can just do 0. I'm actually going to show it to you in just a couple of seconds. You can also do exactly the same thing. So for example, you can do gstaa, right, which is git stash apply, right? So we can just do gstaa. It will just grab the one from the top, right? So now it applied it. Okay, so now let's add another one, and this time we're gonna give it a message, right? So as you can see before, it says, you know, work in progress on main. This time we're just gonna do this. Like you would never do like it was the same change. You know, you would never have like two different stations was the same change, but this is just a demonstration. So now you could, for example, say, please apply this one was the one, which would be this one, for example, right? And then it did. Okay. Also, we had gstd, which is git stash drop. So if you, for example, gstd 0, notice that because it's a stack, it's going to remove this one, and then this one is going to become the next 0. All right, now let's revert all the crap so that I can show you a new trick. So let's also do gclean. Yeah, remove this one. Okay, so now we're in this clean state. The file is gone. Okay, so there is a special thing for those cases where you're trying to apply a stash but it doesn't work, right? And so what you can do is you can give it a branch, right? So you could say git stash branch. You call it somehow like temporary, okay? And then you say in which one, okay? And what it's going to do is the following. It will create a new branch and it's going to call it temp. And it's going to create it based on whatever this particular stash was created from. Chances are really high that it's going to succeed. Right, so even if you did a couple of rebases, it might even still be, you know, not be garbage collected, so it might still be laying around. Okay, so if it succeeds, right, then it's gonna, you know, add this change to this branch, and it's going to remove it from the stash. Okay, so let's do it. It succeeded, therefore it was removed from the stash. It created this branch, you know, called temp. Let's actually do this. Okay, so it created this branch, you know, called temp. Maybe we can have some more space. It's too much space. Doesn't really matter. It created it there, and it has like all of your changes there. Okay, so now you can go and commit them, or you know, you can bring them back somehow. Essentially, it gives you like a safe workspace again to work with those changes. Now you can do whatever you want with them. You can merge and rebase and whatever. Well, let's actually create another stash because I want to show you a cool extension called GitLens. And by the way, the last stash is also displayed in the Git log. Okay. So a very cool extension is GitLens, and it comes in with a ton of stuff, and among them is the thing that in this source control view, right, which is this one, it adds these guys, and stashes is one of them. So you can see your stash over there, and you know, you can see the changes. You can you know, apply it somehow. Apply stash, delete stash, and you know, it's an extension which has like a lot of really cool stuff, and I'm sure that we're going to play with it in the upcoming videos. In fact, we're pretty much done with this one, and I know that a couple of videos ago I actually said that we're only going to have a couple more videos, and in fact I made this mistake in the past a couple of times. I swear to God, we're almost done. I'm planning actually only one more, and there are a couple of things that are just left around, and so I'm probably gonna squeeze them in there. So 2 maximum, unless they get so long, and then I'm gonna split them into 2. But yeah, we're pretty much done with this playlist. In any case, I'm done wasting your time. So for now, as always, it's been Vlad, devinside.com. Don't forget to like this video if you did, subscribe if you want to improve the developer inside you, and if you learned something today, consider supporting me on Patreon, and thus watch my videos weeks and sometimes even months before everyone else. And most importantly, take care.